What is this? Oh my goodness. Welcome to a special Boxing Day edition of Casey Connects. What is this? How is this possible? Oh, it looks so good. It sounds so good. This, my friends, is Pokemon Pinball. Is this... I'm gonna start with normal. Is this on the Nintendo Online? No, it is not. Is this emulated? No, it is not. I have the actual cartridge. So, what on earth is going on here? A while back I bought an analog pocket. And just on a kind of a whim, I bought a dock. Kind of not fully understanding what the dock actually did. I thought it was like a charger port, I guess. Not realizing that it actually had a HDMI port into the TV, and I was like, okay, this is probably going to be a bit more complicated than I would expect to maybe set up and organize. No, it was so simple to organize and set up. And it sounds good, it looks good, it takes up like the whole screen on the TV, which, you know, sometimes you get stuff emulated, for example. And, you know, it only has a square, like it goes to its original resolution. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Analog Pocket, it's basically a really well-made, console that, you know, uses very awesome hardware to run Game Boy Advance and Game Boy games and Game Boy Color games. It's so cool, and I really love it. I don't play it enough, and I figured this is a good excuse for me to play my little collection of games. And I figured that Pokemon Pinball's a kind of a cool one to start off with, because it's one of them that doesn't exist on the Nintendo Online. When I was younger, I loved the original Pokemon Pinball. I really did. I played a lot of it. I wasn't very good at it. To be blunt, and I'm going to jinx myself here, in a bad way, good way, I don't know. Like, I'm probably going to be not that good at it now, but you know, it's not about that. It's about having fun. If I die quickly, I die quickly, you know. Yes, those of you who love Pokemon, and then they made basically a pinball version of it, which is, again, so cool. And then, you know, it was obviously resonated enough with people for them to make a Game Boy Advance version. Unfortunately, I sold my Game Boy Color version. I was actually really kind of sorry. One of my neighbors is just being a bit funny. Anyway, you know, apartment living, right? I put it, you know, I'm not a very good retro game seller. What on earth is going on out there? Someone is having a very fun festive season, it sounds like. I'm used to it myself. Yes, I'm not a very good retro seller. I was so bad. When I sold it to this guy and he paid premium price for this box copy of Pokemon Pinball and the Game Boy Color, and I don't look after my games. I really don't. That particular game and box just happened to be in really good condition. I'm gonna go this one. Why not? Anything to prolong this game. I'm knock on wood, I'm doing really well. But yeah, it just happened to be in really good condition. I just put it in a bubble mailer. I didn't even put it in a box with bubble wrap. Like, you know, and I wasn't even young. This is like about maybe 4 years ago or so. And he like emailed me and he said, "This is not acceptable. Like, it's coming, it's like pretty squished, and that's really disheartening." And I was like, oh my goodness, you know what? I am so sorry. I'm not saying this to say like, oh, I'm such a nice person, but I was like, mate, I'll give you cash back. So I might have given him like, I'm pretty sure I gave him 50% of the cash back, because that box was wrecked. Like, so, you know, just, if you are a retro game seller and you sell games, do your due diligence and put it in a box with some bubble wrap, you know, and then even if the game is dented, it's not your fault. You've done the best you can, you know. Sometimes postal service people can be a bit rough with stuff in boxes and stuff, and it is what it is, you know. Ooh, tentacle. Tentacle? Tentacle. The likelihood that I'm going to play an actual Pokemon game on this channel is very low, for being honest with you. Well, all things considered, not a bad start. So, I'll just tell the story now. Basically, I think it was the year 1999. It was Christmas, so I would have been like 12. Maybe 13, 12, 13. My mum has always given me awesome presents. She's always gone above and beyond. I'm getting a bit loose here, you know, with buying games and consoles, even though we weren't well off. You know, I think there was like a misconception a bit amongst, you know, people that knew us, me, that we were pretty well off. We weren't. Let me just say that. And in spite of that, I was extremely spoiled. I can say that looking back. I got really like a complex about that when I was in high school, that I was spoiled. And I was like, I'm not spoiled, we're not well off. But I was spoiled, because my mum spoiled me with what little she had, right? So at Christmas, that's another story for another time. You know, I'm over it, just FYI. If anyone's listening that called me spoiled. Matthew. Just kidding, mate, I love you. You know, one of the gifts was like a little small cardboard box, and I unwrapped it, and it was a Game Boy Color. So freaking cool. Purple Game Boy Color. I gave it to my cousin who had broken his Game Boy Color at the time, and I had moved on to like a Game Boy Advance at that point. I don't regret giving it to him, you know, like, because especially, I mean, I could afford another one now. I might even get one, but now I've got the analog pocket. There's probably not much point, right? But I missed it, right? Anyway. Oh. Plusle, or Minusle, or whatever the hell it's called. And Mum got me a game for it. She got me Pokemon Red. On a whim. Like, it's so funny. In Bunbury, she went to the Games R Us store, I think. and they were just happened to be unpacking these boxes, and the retail dude, the guy at the sales, maybe the manager, maybe the owner, I don't know, he was like, he told my mum, look, this is a story she told me, I don't know if she remembers it. He was like, look, oh, he goes, if you're looking for a game for your son or daughter for Christmas, get him this. He goes, this is gonna be the next big thing. This is Pokemon. It's gonna be the next big thing. Yeah, like that. Mum was kind of like, oh, all right, kind of thing, like, and like I didn't know. I think I saw ads for it, and I had a kind of an idea that, you know, it had been going around in Japan a little bit. You know, the anime and such. It changed my life, man. I remember being at my uncle's place in just south of Perth, and playing it. It's such a hot day. I picked Charmander, of course, and Brock, the first gym leader. He's a rock type, so it's borderline impossible to like defeat Brock with Charmander unless you have like 1,000 potions. You burn, and you're a few levels above him, right? So I found it really difficult, but I was just so entranced with it. I was entranced. Whoops! Do I get another shot? I do. Cool. I was just so entranced with it, man. Just collecting these creatures and then reading the manual. It's like there's 150. I'm like, that is absurd. 150 like that, and then like all of a sudden my Charmander evolves. And I'm like, what on it? And then it learns more different moves and such. You know, it was just a Game Boy. It wasn't a Game Boy Color game. It was just a Game Boy game. But with the Game Boy Color, you could allocate colors, and the color it would allocate was red. It just looked so cool, and you know, I loved it. I really, really, really did. It was something that was, you know, truly special. Truly special. Ah, thank you, Pikachu. And now I'm so pleased that I get to play like a Pokemon themed game on my channel, and this is not, trust me when I say this particular version is not a game from my childhood. You know, sadly I actually sold my original Game Boy Pokemon games, so you're definitely not going to see them. Uh-oh. I think that might be it for me. There's a way you can kind of, I'm going to put... Casa. Nah. Case. Let's go Sapphire. Normal ball speed. Normal ball speed's pretty good, actually. When it's too slow, sometimes it's a bit like... The oldest game in my collection for Pokemon now is Pokemon Soul Silver on the DS. So unfortunately, the Game Boy, the Analog Pocket doesn't play that. So... and sadly, that's gonna be... yeah. And another note as well, these are based off like the Ruby and Sapphire games on the Game Boy Advance. How funny. I was not into Ruby and Sapphire. At that time I was going through some crap where, like, again, I can be quite a bit more of a bit of a contrarian. So I decided to kind of leave that be, as it were, until later on in my life where I played it. And honestly, there's something about the style. Wow, okay. Not the best. something about the style of it, I didn't engage with as much as Pokemon Silver. And to this day, Pokemon Silver and Pokemon Soul Silver are still my absolute favorite Pokemon games. There was something just so special about them. And I think it came from, like, after Pokemon Red and Blue, reports started coming in. And you have to understand, you know, at that point, there was internet, but the internet wasn't as, like, saturated, for lack of a better term, as it is now. Some reports would come in and there'd only be a few pictures. Some stuff you couldn't even trust. You know, even in reputable websites, we're fooled by, like, false reports, right? So there was reports coming in of these new games that are being released, called Pokemon Gold and Silver, and we were just like, as my friend group, were just like, wow, like, you've got to be kidding me, really? Pokemon. And then it was released in Japan prior to being released in US and Australia, because the translation of those games, I can imagine, this is just my assumption, would be absurd and take a long time. So I couldn't wait. What I actually did, I downloaded the ROM, and you know, just from context, kind of navigated even with the Japanese text. Then I downloaded the translation pack, where people were doing really terrible translations of what they could at the time, which was being updated, and did that, and I played Pokemon Silver on my computer. Oh, absolutely loved it, but I think that I only played it really for a bit of a short time, because I was like, I can't play it on the computer with this terrible friggin' translation. I need the actual, and the fact that it was in full color as well, like, oh my goodness me. So I actually just waited. I waited for it to come out, and exceeded all expectations. I think there's, like, reports, or even, like, it's been confirmed, like, that was supposed to be the finish of Pokemon as the Pokemon series of the game. You know what I mean? And at the end it says, like, the end, like, you know, that was supposed to be that in the sequel, and that was supposed to be all she wrote. But of course, Pokemon being the juggernaut it is, and selling an absurd amount of merchandise, oh, pardon me, just kept going, you know. So yeah, I'm such a lucky guy to live in that era, you know. I don't think I've done this before. Yeah, just to live in that era in the late 90s, early 2000s, and thing. It still means something to me today, obviously, because I still love Pokemon. Meaning, like, you know, I still got Pokemon t-shirts. I have Pokemon plushies. Look, I'm a weirdo, alright? I am almost 40. And I've got these things. I can't help it. I really can't. There is really something about Pokemon that just reminds me of my youth. I'm glad it's not just me. Like, you talk to a lot of people, and a lot of them say the same thing. Like, this next generation of, like, millennials and that grew up in that era. Really, where's the other one? Have just decided to buy all the things that they missed out on in the past. Damn. But you know what? I am enjoying this episode. I really, really am. It is fun. So forgive me for being not the best at this. I've never been good at pinball games. Something about my reflexes and such. Some people are just insane when they come to it, eh? Like, they're just so good. I think it comes from repetition. And repetition is something I do not have. You know, when it comes to this game especially. Pardon me. So I'm glad this is able to happen. I was like teasing in my Christmas episode, the Mario Party episode, that I had a treat, and this is the treat. But I didn't know if my analog pocket would work properly, because you don't know. Sometimes you hook this technology up, right, and then the sound won't work, or the sound starts to crackle. Doesn't do what it needs to do, but the analog pocket, man, it don't miss. So I'm glad, and this actually makes me very happy, because what I want to kind of do at some point is, if I feel like there's some Game Boy games, some Game Boy Advance games that are worth playing, you know, I'll definitely pick them up, and I'll exhibit. I'll demonstrate, I'll you know, show you what they're like, and either the ones I've played, my experiences with them, or, you know, experience them for the first time. There's a lot of Game Boy Advance games that I have got that I have not experienced properly. There's one very special one, actually, that I don't know what you guys feel about me playing it, but, you know, Boktai 2. And people might go, how are you supposed to play Boktai 2? For those of you who don't know, it's got a sun sensor. And it was made by Hideo Kojima, the guy who made Metal Gear, right? So it's actually got a couple of Metal Gear elements in it where you can lean up against the wall and tap the wall and such like that. That being said, it's got a sun sensor in it. Like, it uses, quote unquote, you know, the power of the sun for you to charge up your weapon. So if there's no sun, or if it's nighttime, you're SOL, man. So, like, my plan with that is, potentially, there's more and more solar lights. Is that what you call them? Solar lights? Sunlights? Coming into, like, some department stores for plants, indoor plants, to give them lots and lots of sunlight and stuff. I'm tempted to hook one up next to my game analog pocket, and when I need to have that power, just to use that to charge it up. That's what people do a lot of the time when they play Boktai 2, because ideally sometimes you can't get sun a lot of the time and such, you know. So that was close. You know, so they get these sunlights, and that's how they play Boktai 2. And I think it might be worth doing that, setting it up, you know. I don't know how I would set it up, whether I'd have like a remote control or something. That would be, I feel like that would be easy to hook up and play it like that. When I need it, just hit the remote control. Ooh, I was lucky. Or what? But Boktai 2 would be a trip to play. And that's the thing about Boktai 2 as well. I've tried to play it in the past, but it's almost impossible to play, especially in the Australian sun. If I'm being blunt. Whoops. Sorry, I was a bit distracted. Because it's so bright and so what we call glary. It just glares off the reflection of the screen So that's why the Analog Pocket is a godsend, because I can play it now because I've got a thing. You know, and it's nicely backlit. That's the thing about the old Game Boy Color and the old Game Boy Advance original model. They weren't backlit, man. But yes, thank you for joining us on this as we wrap up in the last 5 minutes or so of this. It's so lovely to see this game on my big screen and recording looking so nice and in a nice resolution as well. I have another treat for you guys. It's more for me. You'll see what I mean when you see on the 27th. It is more for me. I don't think you guys are gonna be that into it, if I'm being honest, and that's okay, but I just want to have an episode of it because it's Christmas and I want to play it, and you'll see exactly what I mean. Then I might just do an episode of Mario 64 just to lock another one of them in, and then at least I have these episodes ready to rock and roll for the Christmas period, because the likelihood of me doing more episodes after Christmas and around New Year's, with how social I'm gonna be, the likelihood is not high. So I'm just trying to bang some of these out now. That being said, I could do some more on Boxing Day. I mean, I'll see. But I kind of want to play this game, because having this set up on the dock. I'm playing this on a Pro controller, just FYI. A Pro controller. Like, it's so cool. It's so worth it. If you guys are on the fence about an Analog Pocket, I mean, I talk about Mario Party before. I sound like an ad for all these things, right? But if you've seen the Analog Pocket, if you're on the fence about an Analog Pocket, do yourself a favor. If you're interested at all about playing stuff with the hardware, I've been told, like, it plays with the hardware, but it's still emulation. Like, it downloads. I think what it does, like a lot of these systems do, it downloads the ROM onto the console so it can play. That being said, I don't know if that's actually the true case, because I've seen these crash because the cartridge is dirty. So I don't think it really... I think it's quite true to form. People have put... and let me just say this from a legal perspective. Don't do it. Don't do it. But I have seen some people put ROMs and stuff on there. That's not my thing, honestly. If I want to do that, if I were to do that, which I never would. I was talking about it before Pokemon Silver, but I'll do it on the computer. But yeah, you know. Talao? Man. That was lucky. Man, one game I wish I could play on this show, though, and I might work it out one day, who knows, is, man, Pokemon Black 2. Far out, those were overlooked, forgotten games in that era. People talk about, you know, Ruby and Sapphire, and they talk about all these different games. I'm shocked people don't talk about Black and White more, because it's such a... Those were really cool games. And I guess in a way, I don't know how many of those Pokemon that existed in an era, how memorable they really were. I mean, maybe I regret saying that, and I'll get people going, no, some of my favorite Pokemon came from Black and White. I'll be blunt. I can't think. But, you know, you're talking to someone who Generation 1 and 2 is my jam. You know, I look really sad. I pushed over the little dude. I'm terrible with Pokemon names. Just thinking, like, I can visualize them. I can, you know, I can tell you probably what game they came from, but naming them. Well, anyway, as this inevitably winds down, I just want to say again, Merry Christmas. This is probably going up on Boxing Day if my calculations are correct. I said it on the Mario Party episode, but however, whatever your, you know, situation is, whether you're with family, by yourself, with friends, you know, even if it's just for a short period of time, put a smile on your face and just, you know, enjoy that you're alive. For some of you, it might be tough. You might be going through a lot of stuff. You might have these ailments and stuff, or, you know, it gets heavy. But you might, you know, some people have depression and stuff like this. Completely understand, you know, and these are the tough periods to get through, right? But as some say, you know, like, hopefully they don't last forever. And, you know, the good times come. You know, whatever your point of reference is for that, the good times come. You know, so, you know, I'm so blessed and I'm so happy to be alive. So, yeah. Yeah. Have a wonderful holiday season and Christmas. And it's now time for my treat. See you tomorrow.